Mr. Speaker, when I asked a very simple question last week of whether the NDP government was going to use the additional money from raising the PST for new infrastructure spending or just replace existing spending with it, the Premier didn't give a firm commitment that the PST money will be additional infrastructure dollars above and beyond spending in previous budgets.
Probably is.
Again, I ask the Premier, will the additional PST money be new infrastructure dollars and not just replace existing infrastructure dollars so that his government can deceptively use the additional PST money for all sorts of other purposes?
Probably.
Speaker, we have made it very clear in the throne speech we're going to ramp up $5.5 billion of new expenditure on infrastructure, core infrastructure, new expenditure, incremental expenditure on new core infrastructure. Core infrastructure means highways. Core infrastructure means sewer and water. Core infrastructure means flood protection for Manitoba communities, and that's very important priorities for Manitobans. These resources will allow us to be able to address those important priorities, in contrast to the members opposite who wanted to cut all of those budgets.
That's right.
In addition, they wanted to cut health spending on personal care homes and on other facilities for health care. They wanted to cut funding for new schools and repairing existing schools. By allowing us to raise this revenue and dedicating it to core infrastructure, we can pay for those new projects while protecting schools and hospitals. That's our objective, Mr. Speaker. That will make for a stronger Manitoba, steady economic growth, and good jobs for young people.
Mr. Speaker, last week when the Premier announced that his government was going to spend $5.5 billion on infrastructure over the next 5 years, it quickly came to light that many of the dollars he was talking about were federal or municipal dollars. The Premier was
Probably.
the Premier's propensity to assume provincial taxpayers' money is his own money has been extended to a new level. I asked the Premier, what part of the $5.5 billion in infrastructure spending proposed is from provincially derived revenue, and what part is in fact expenditure of federal and municipal governments?
$5.5 billion in our budget on infrastructure. We've always said we'd be pleased to get a federal match on specific projects.
That's right.
And we look forward to the federal government announcing the Building Canada Fund so we can get a better match.
That's right.
This will allow us to do even more additional work in Manitoba.
right. 2 for
As we
1.
ramp up that $5.5 billion
2-for-1 deal.
of expenditure. It will create thousands of new jobs in Manitoba, Mr. Speaker. And the research shows that investment on infrastructure has a very positive return for the economy. When you invest in infrastructure, you create jobs, you grow the economy. And that's what we want. Steady economic growth,
Right.
new jobs for Manitobans, new opportunities for young people in the trades, whether it's electrical trades, carpentry, highway work, whether it's plumbing, whether it's any of the new trades, Mr. Speaker. Those things are important for the future of the province. At a time of global economic uncertainty, at a time when the Canadian, North American, and global economies have not recovered as rapidly as people have anticipated, we're embarking on a period of economic growth in the province which will create new jobs.
Order, please. The First Minister's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, instead of answering my question directly, the Premier did a real wiggle on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Speaker,
Where was his infrastructure?
Mr. Speaker, because of the widespread confusion over just how the Premier and his government plan to spend the additional money generated by raising the PST, with about 51 proposals being put on the table to date, and with a lack of credibility as to whether his latest proposal is in fact his final decision, I ask the Premier, will he table today the full list of all the projects on which he proposes to expend the new infrastructure money, the PST money, and tell us, is this his final decision?
Mr. Speaker, we've announced some very significant investments in infrastructure. Highway 75, an additional $215 million. We've said we'd spend more money on the west side of the province on Highway number 10. We've said we'd spend additional money on Highway number 6 up through the Interlake. We've said we'd spend additional money on Highway number 9 that goes up to the Gimli area. And of course, Highway number 1 going east after we twinned Highway number 1 going west when the opposition said they would do it and then failed to deliver it on it. They canceled it. The only political party in this House which has canceled infrastructure projects are the PCs, the Progressive Conservatives. Our projects have gone forward. We've delivered on all of them, and we will deliver on $5.5 billion more as we go forward. And there will be new jobs and good jobs for young Manitobans, Mr. Speaker.